And I couldn't get the quad bike down there, so I started running. Got down to where I thought he was, totally gone, disappeared, and the deer. So I thought, where the bloody hell are they?
Hey, how's it going, everyone? Welcome back for another episode of the Falconry Told podcast, and what is now the second episode of our international series featuring falconers from the UK. I have to start off by mentioning the two falconers who, without their help, this series wouldn't have been able to happen. The first is Neil Davies from Pursuit Falconry and Conservation magazine. You've probably heard us promote the magazine on the podcast before, but if you haven't got a chance to check it out yet, I highly recommend it, and the publication is doing a lot to promote the art of falconry across the world. There's always lots of great content in it, so if you haven't subscribed yet, go to pursuitfalconry.co.uk and sign up for your subscription. It's well worth it. The other falconer is one that you've heard on the podcast before, being Simon Tyers. He is the author of The Specialist Falcon, and the book is about his personal approach to lowland game hawking. It's been described as being one of the best modern books of our era by a lot of falconers and is well worth the read. I found this book to be very informative and very enjoyable, and so I highly recommend that you go to thespecialistfalcon.com and pick up a copy, and you can even have the copy signed by Simon as well. So thank you again very, very much, Neil and Simon, for bringing me over and allowing me to help all these falconers from the UK have a voice and share their stories and experiences with the world. I hope you, the listeners, enjoy the series a lot and get something out of it. And thank you very much for all of your continued support and for listening. And the second episode features Calvin Crossman, who is a fairly renowned equipment maker here in the UK. He makes bells, gloves, and all the other good stuff. And he also hunts with a golden eagle and has been doing that for a long time. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into this second episode and hear some of the stories and experiences from Calvin. Here we go. Appreciate your time. It's been good meeting you here and getting to know you just a little bit over these last few hours. And yeah, man, I mean, where are you coming from over this weekend?
I'm sort of from Evesham. I'm just sort of one of the falconry equipment makers within the UK. Make all my own stuff. So yeah, it's hopefully it'll be a good show. Yeah. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, good deal. Well, I mean, I know there's supposed to be a decent turnout from what I've heard, and there's definitely a lot of really talented people here from what I've seen, and it appears that a handful of y'all already kind of know each other from other interactions in previous shows and things like that. So
yeah, we've got Charmaine and there's Steve Alsall and there's Chris Payne. There's a little bit of competition, but I normally come out all right. I normally come out okay.
Well, a little competition never hurts anybody.
No, it doesn't. And to be fair, it just keeps you on top of your game as well. So you have a look at the market, you look at what they're selling stuff for, and then you try and better the market. You sort of come up with a couple of quirky little ideas. You change your patterns a little bit, and hopefully, fingers crossed, I've got the edge on it a little bit.
Well, you've got some pretty neat stuff that you brought with you. I mean, you've got, I mean, you were kind of talking to me a little bit about some of the stuff, but I think it was a good idea that you brought a decent amount of dog and bird stuff with you. You know, you said, what, half and half, kind of?
Yeah, kind of half and half. I do sort of like a little bit of the long dogs being lurchers, greyhounds, and that type of dog, or in other words, sight hounds is what we used to call them back in the day. So yeah, we do some pointer stuff as well, sort of spaniel stuff, working dog type of dog leads and collars, but it just all goes all in all with what I'm doing at the moment. So it's good. Some shows are better than others. We don't do a lot of shows because of what I do anyway, but the shows that I do, it's turning out to be about 50-50 falconry, 50 dog related items. So yeah, it's not too bad. It's good. It's good.
Well, I mean, as long as it's becoming, or I guess I should say, as long as it's continuing to be kind of worth the effort and the time and the money to continue to do these shows and stuff. And, I mean, all the power to you. How long have you been doing these type of trade shows?
Oh God, the trade shows probably around about, I've been doing the shows now for about 20 years. Started off, if we go back to the start, I brought a business with a friend. We started off as Master of the Muse. The guy that I was in partnership was a lad called Del Shaler. The company before, or the people who brought the company off was Falconry Fair, Fayre. And it was Roy and Kev Wellens that we brought the company from. We spent quite a little bit of money on buying the business from them. We got it all set up. We kept the same name for a little while and then changed it to Master of the Muse. Unfortunately, I never worked out with my partner, so that come a little bit of an issue. In the end, we parted. I ended up with half of the business. I kept the consumable parts of it. So I kept the bells, the swivels and the gloves and a few other little bits and bobs. Whereas he went down the perch side of the falconry business. And that was that. We didn't part on good terms. But you never do within business, do you? It's just always a hard slog with a business partner sometimes. Del was, to be fair, I'd done a lot of hunting with Del previous, and he was always okay. It was only the final, once I realised that I'm not going to speak bad about him because he's not long passed away. So, but he was all right. He weren't a bad lad at the end of the day. He just had a lot of issues with other stuff. So, but he was all right. I shot with him, and like I say, he was a good friend. I drank with him a few times, and that was just one of those. But from there on, from leaving Master of the Muse, I set my own company up called UB Falconry. I sort of moved all the stuff in storage for probably about 18 months while I built a work unit to put everything in. And then from there, from the work unit, we got everything in, got everything going, and we started doing the shows. And the shows were pretty good. They were pretty profitable to start with. And the way it's gone now with more online stuff and more stuff coming in from abroad, the cheaper products, it's just got a lot harder. So I've sort of turned around and stopped trying to compete with cheap products, and I try and only now make top end. Sometimes we're a bit middle, depending on what I can find in the market leather-wise. So there's still a little bit of a hole to fill in that middle market. But I do try and buy decent leather, good leather, and make good quality products for the UK and as well as the Middle East, which is sort of kind of my main market at the moment. I've got some good guys out in Qatar. I've not dealt with the Saudis too much, but hopefully this show will prove pretty good. Hopefully, fingers crossed. Especially with the new gloves that I've got here at the moment, which are the ones that I showed, which were silk lined and the cashmere lined gloves. So we're just hoping that maybe a little bit of sponsorship somewhere, and we'll be okay.
Well, out of curiosity, I mean, how long does it take you on average to make a single glove, especially one that's higher quality, like the silk interior and stuff?
Oh, now you're asking a question. I would say to make a silk lined glove, probably about 2 hours from start to finish. if you were to get set up to make one glove by itself, probably a lot longer. But if you're doing a batch, so your machine's all set up, you've got the right threads in the machine to match the leather that you're working with, you've got all the right cutters out, and then you're not having to put them back on the shelf then to make just one other size and then in a different colour, and then get all your different threads out and thread all your sewing machines back up again with that colour. I'd say sort of a good 2 to 3 hours to make a simple single layer glove. Now, if you've got to make a short cuff double layer, I would say you'd be looking maybe about 3 hours, maybe a bit longer. And then for a full length glove, maybe about half a day, from start to finish.
Jeez. Just for one single?
Just for one glove, yeah. And that's machined as well. If you're doing a hand stitch, you'd be probably looking at the best part of a whole day for any of them, from start to finish.
Wow. So basically, I mean, it doesn't speed up the process then if you have to, or if you're doing like multiple types of the same glove with the same size or anything.
If you're doing multiple gloves, then you can speed the process up a lot.
Ah, okay.
Because you've got all your patterns laid out in the one size that you want to cut. You've got all your leather laid out that you want to use. So then it's just a process of cutting all your tanks out, which is the main part of your hand. So you cut all your tanks out. So if you wanted to sort of like cut 100 gloves in that one size, all your bits are laid out for that one size. And then your machine's all set up for that one leather. You know, people don't realise that to set a sewing machine up for different thicknesses of leather, sometimes the sewing machine just don't want to work with you. And for whatever reason, it might be the tension, it might be whatever, but it does take a long time to set some are better than others, but setting a sewing machine up can be a right pain in the backside when it comes to and same as everything, you get breakdowns and people don't take for the breakdowns. It might only be a breakage of a needle while you're stitching, the thread might break, it might just get tangled up in the machine somewhere because you've done something a little bit different, so then your thread breaks and then you've got to go back over where you've started, and it's just sort of, you know, there's lots and lots of little things. Probably too much to explain here in the 45 minutes that we've got to. But yeah, when it comes to sewing machines and all the equipment that you need, I've spent thousands. And recently we've just brought a company out. Well, I would say we brought it out. They've closed down. And I was just in the right place at the right time. And managed to buy all their, a lot of their equipment off them to better my products, basically.
Okay. Well, that's, I guess, kind of one of those lucky things that you can end up stumbling into whenever you get into this type of stuff. I mean, I don't know the first thing about this stuff. I mean, I've talked to other friends that used to have equipment making businesses or still currently do, but not so much the glove aspect. I mean, I do have some friends that used to make gloves and things of that nature, but as I've told multiple people, including, you know, Steve earlier and stuff, is like, I am not handy at all, and as far as the craftsmanship aspect of things, I suck. So it's not my thing, and I applaud any of you who have the wherewithal and the continued I guess patience to want to stick with doing that, because I certainly don't. You know?
Yeah, we make quite a few different things. Well, when I say quite a few, everything I make myself. I don't buy anything in from abroad. That because then it wouldn't be UB Falconry UK. It'd have to be something else. I couldn't call myself. So I do try and specify that everything that I make is made by me. I haven't got anybody else in the workshop. So we make sort of all the green fiberglass baths that you see all over the world. You know, that they go out to Europe, the UK. I have sent them out to the States. And I'm the only person probably in the world doing them as far as that I know. I think somebody else does a copy of them, but not in the volume that I can do them in. I make all my own bells, nickel, silver and brass. We have used a bit of beryllium copper in the past. I did go down the line of trying to weld 18 gauge titanium. We got there in the end, but I couldn't get the loop on the top because with titanium, you need to weld in an argon bubble. And I just couldn't get that loop to stay. It just kept going straight across the room. And it was just like, no, this ain't working. So on the titanium, I probably spent 6 to 8 months trying to make titanium bells. I could get a real nice weld around the outside of it, but I couldn't get that loop to sit on the top nicely. So that's the bells. We do about 6 different sizes of a bell. Swivels, make all my own swivels. They're all stainless steel. Do 6 different sizes of swivel. We used to do the D-shaped swivels, but we stopped that because most of the customers wanted the flat tops. More for the leather locks up a lot better in the flat tops than the D's. But in all fairness, sometimes if you've got a D and you want it to undo quickly, it just slip off a lot easier. It just depends on which way you want it to go better. So that's your bells, that's your swivels, that's the baths. What else is there? There's the gloves, bullet jesses. We make bullet jesses. I'm not sure. Do you use bullet jesses out in the States much?
Yeah, there's some guys that I know that use them quite often, and I like to use them too because especially if I'm hunting squirrel or something, I like to go jessless. I don't like having jesses and anklets, especially if there's a lot of tree action going on and stuff. So
no, that's cool. I'm quite traditional. I like all the old leather stuff, to be fair. Like that. I'm not sort of struck on braid because I find braid like goes up and through the eyelets a little bit. So I'm pretty sort of old fashioned when it comes to the falconry side of things. I just like traditional equipment. It's probably just old fashioned and old way of going on.
Everybody's got personal preferences. I mean, I've become more of a fan of the braided stuff over the years, just simply because I like the ease in which you can kind of get it in and out of the grommets of anklets, and I mean, it's all personal preference.
It is, and that's I think why there's so many arguments up and it's personal preference, but there's no right and wrong in falconry. As long as it's working and your bird's safe, then that's all that counts. No. That's it.
Yeah, as long as the bird is being maintained decently,
your husbandry.
And the husbandry's good, the bird's in good health, and you're hunting it and catching game, then who's to say one way's right versus the other? I mean, if you've got said person over here that's using leather jesses and they're catching tons of head of game, and you've got a guy that's over here using braided jesses and takes them out and does the same, and whatever, as long as everything's hunky-dory, then it doesn't really matter, right?
Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm all for braid if you've got a chewy bird, like especially falcons. Them things will go through sort of any kind of rope in no time at all. You put a decent set of braid on, especially if it's Dyneema braid, rather than like a synthetic, like a Dacron or what they call a Dacron. But Dyneema, which is a fishing braid, I believe, that stuff is just absolutely the best. So if anybody's got anything chewy, just ask for somebody to make you a set of Dyneema fishing braids, because that stuff is absolutely mustard. Mustard meaning brilliant.
Yeah, I mean, I've had several different types and pairs, and I mean, I've always found that as long as it's really tightly pulled and woven together and stuff, and it's good quality, then it tends to last.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's all to each their own. I mean, I know what I like, and I like using what I like, and I'm not ever going to sit here and scream at the top of the mountain for someone else to do things my way. I don't, it's not my place. So
no, it's not anybody's place to sort of shout the odds at somebody else. If you could see it working for them, leave them alone.
Yeah,
it's simple, isn't it? We've all got sort of views on things, but if it's working, and as you said earlier, if they're catching stuff, and the bird's healthy, there's no need to say anything.
Right. Yeah. If it's not broke, don't fix it.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. No, I totally agree. Well, yeah, I mean, as far as the equipment side of things, though, I mean, how long have you been, overall, I'd say from your first set of equipment that you made, first glove, whatever, and then till now, about how long has it been for you overall?
20 years.
20 years? Jeez.
Yeah. I've been messing with this sort of stuff for about 20 years now. Maybe 18, but yeah, it'd be 18, 20, something like that now, since I come out of what I was doing before, which was butchering. Well, it was butchering and then butchering, slaughtering, going from killing 3,500 sheep in the morning to 350 cattle in the afternoon. In a day, that is 7 days a week almost, to then going up to Scotland for 3 years, doing the deer calls, shooting about 500 deer every 6 months for the best part of 2.5, 3 years, and then coming back home, going back into butchery, and then going, I don't like butchery anymore.
Yeah.
So it was a bit of a head spinner when I had to come back home. I didn't really want to come back home from Scotland. As we were talking here, I said I like the big wide open space, and we got chatting about Wyoming, and and that's those places are just sort of wild, and that's what I like. I grew up like that, just being by myself, big wide open spaces, and I just love it. I just think sort of that's where I'm at peace anyway, sort of by myself hunting, and it doesn't matter what I'm hunting with. It could be a bird, a dog, a fishing rod. It could be with the dogs, it could be with the ferrets. It doesn't matter, as long as you're out and you're gathering a little bit of food and you're doing it conservation minded. I just think go and have a good time. Everybody's sort of, you go anywhere now and everyone's on their mobile phones, aren't they? Yeah. It's just like, just pick a fishing rod up, just pick something up. It doesn't matter what you pick up, as long as it's not your mobile phone.
Yeah.
So, it's just one of those with me. I just love the wild aspects of things, and if I could still live off the land without too much hassle off the government, that'd be me done. That'd be me done.
Yeah, I don't blame you. There's a lot to be said for just the I guess the overall peacefulness of solitude these days, and the absence of technology in general. I know whenever it was back in, I think, 2017, me and some friends and I went to Wyoming. Actually, it was the first time I ever went to Wyoming, and we pulled Goshawks and searched around, some of these different mountains and stuff for goshawk nests for about a week. And I remember kind of initially feeling a little, I don't know if you'd call it going through withdrawals or what from the tech, but there was something that was just ultimately peaceful about just sitting there listening. I mean, you could hear everything. You could hear the river that we were kind of close to, the creek or whatever. You could hear the water flowing, and at night you could see every star in the sky, and just the absence of the excess noise and pollution. It was very surreal. So, I mean, I totally get it for sure. But yeah, no, I mean, so as far as, one thing we always like to talk about is what possessed people to get into this crazy life. and
now we're going into a long story.
Yeah. Well, we've got time, man. We've got time. So
basically, I grew up in Highley by Bridge North. My dad, Tony Crossman, he was an avid bird ringer for the BTO, but it's just for ornithology. So we used to go out, and I used to go out with him, put the big mist nets up, catch the birds in the big mist nets, put the rings on the birds, let them go again. We've done a great big survey in in Wales regarding wheat here. That was through a chap called Dave Fulton at the time, which if you Google his name, Dave Fulton, wheat here, there'll be a big survey done on him. So we used to go into Wales. Now, wheat here are a ground nesting bird. So you used to have to sort of like clock them or see them to start with. Wait until they was carrying food to under a rock or down a little bit of a rabbit hole. You try and mark a rock close to where it had gone in, and then you'd walk in, put your hand down, see at what stage the eggs were, note it in the book, go back the following week or 2 weeks maybe, and then ring them. So that's how I got into birds a little bit. There was a guy in the local village that had a harrishaw going back then, and he had a red tail. And he had sort of like this bike contraption with a lure on the back. And we used to sort of get on the bike and sort of pedal as fast as we could, which would then roll the lure down the field and the birds would chase it. And we just thought that was fantastic. We'd go with him sort of quite a bit. You know, there was that side of aspect. And then I got into proper hunting, which was, well, when I say proper hunting, my dad he kept finches. Lots of different types of finches, but they was just a little bit bigger than the UK house sparrow. And back then there was thousands of sparrows. And at about 5-6 years old, my dad taught me how to use a little Webley Tempest air pistol. And we used to have to try and shoot as many sparrows as we could to stop them getting into the aviaries where the finches were, because they were stealing all the food. And we could fill a bin liner up, like an old bin liner, a UK bin liner with a mesh round, that they were quite big. So you'd have sort of like a good sort of 25-30 kilo of sparrows. There'd be thousands of them in a bag. And, you know, right or wrong at the time, maybe we shouldn't have done it, but there was no law against shooting sparrows back then. Whereas now that you don't see a lot of them, and I just think it's a shame to shoot them now, but you learn from your mistakes as you get older. So that was my introduction to birds and hunting and everything else. And then from there, I got involved with pheasant shoots, going out beaching, working dogs and doing all that sort of thing. With the BTO, with my dad, we used to do a lot of owls, like trying to find barn owls, tawny owls, little owls. Again, little owls burrowing or use rabbit holes to nest in. Barn owls were normally around barns or trees sort of thing. Tawnies, we used to put boxes up. We had probably about 3,000 nest boxes, I think, through the wire forest, where we used to sort of go and check yearly, clean them out, mainly trying to catch sort of anything other than blue tits and great tits that used to use them quite frequently. So things like red star, there was just loads. I can't remember them, to be fair, now going back. But we tried to catch anything that was continental rather than that was British Isles. So if it flew off, then you get a report back if it was caught or they found it dead, and the ring would give you all that data from when it was rung. If it was rung from a chip, they could then age it really, how far it had flown, and loads of other data. And somebody else might have caught it somewhere else. So then you build up a map of where it had been and where it had flown from to and the time, which I found really interesting. That was, another thing. In this thing like a little wren, like a little, do you know what a wren is? Like a little brown.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. Who would have thought they'd fly to Africa from here? A little wren, you know? And as they make it, because when you watch a little wren fly, you just think they can't fly, because they just go from one little twig to another and then they're gone. They make it all the way over to Africa. Who would have thought a little wren would make it all the way over to Africa? You know, that's just amazing. Wildlife is just amazing. So that was me sort of kind of introductory to birds and hunting. And then to get into falconry, that come a little bit later. like I said earlier on, I'd come back from Scotland after being up on the hill for a good 2 years. And I met a lad called Barnaby Breakborough, who's now sort of like a real good buddy of mine. Big burly lad, about 25 stone, like Viking beard. Good lad. And we got chatting, got talking in the pub, and he said he'd done a bit of falconry. And I said, that's something I always wanted to do. And blow me not, 6 months later, I've been out, got myself a nice little female Harris hawk. She was flying around about the £2.2 mark. And she was really good. I got her going, got her hunting really nice. She was taking a nice bit of fur. She was taking a few pheasants. We got her going in the lamp. And we got her going really, really well in the lamp, to the point where she was too good. We sit her outside on the wing mirror of a V8 Range Rover, drive across the field, lamp on. She'd see the rabbits and off she'd go, dump, she'd nail them. She didn't, if she missed, skylight open, little bit of food on the top of the bonnet, and she'd come straight back in through the skylight in the dark. Good little bird. So that was my introductory to hawks. And then I got myself a bit of a pest control job, which was with NBC, which is a pretty well-known company in the UK, doing falcons on landfill and doing a bit of flying in pedestrian areas and shopping malls and that, clearing pigeons and that sort of thing. So I've done that for a good few years. And then, because of all the hunting that I've done over the years, I got approached by a fox hunt who wanted to keep the hunt legal within the law, which meant you needed an eagle. So I went out and got an eagle. I'd got a bit of eagle experience. I've flown a couple of eagles before on loan. We flew those for, oh God, how long have I been flying woody now? Probably I've been flying woody now for 10 years, alongside fox hunts, keeping everything within or to the letter of the law as it stands. And I have, for a small male goldie, we've probably taken, I don't know, probably around about 40 fully grown roe deer in 10 years, something like that. Probably about 5 a year, maybe 6. I don't know how many foxes or muntjac or hares he's taken, but for a little £6.12 male golden eagle, it is as good as you can get, really. I've had some fun with him. He ties you up in knots sometimes with the stuff he does, and it's just like, you shouldn't have done that. But that's birds of prey for you at times, isn't it? But that's sort of like, in a short nutshell type of thing of my background to how I got involved with falconry.
Nice. Well, yeah, I mean, everybody's got different, ways of getting into it, and that's one thing we always like finding out from people is, I mean, it seems like everybody's, even though some people have similar stories or similar, I don't know, ways that they got into it or some experience or whatever, it seems like for as similar as some might be, they're always a little different. So it's always cool finding out everybody's little, stories as far as how they got into it and everything. So, but I mean, over the years, I mean, is the whole golden eagle thing for you now? Is that pretty much where it's at for you? Do you still like doing other stuff, or is it mainly just the eagles?
No, I like any kind of hunting. It doesn't matter. I could still go out with a stick and just walk over the top of a bank and see a load of seagulls get up, or, especially when I was doing landfill work, give me a boomerang, I'd still try and go out with a boomerang if I love bow hunting. I've done a little bit with a bow, not in the UK because it's illegal. But it's just one of those. You just try and keep everything as it should be. preserve nature as it should be. In all, I like meat as well. So, whatever I shoot, I don't waste it. Obviously, my butchery experience comes into that as well, because sort of like anything that we do, if we catch something big, like if I caught something with the eagle, that'll be all processed into sausages and burgers, and the eagle will get his little snippet out of it. And with the hares, I don't know why people don't do it. I find sort of hares are just such a good meal, but there's not many people that do hare anymore, and I sort of, if we get a nice hare, it'll go in, I make a chili con carne out of it, or I'll curry it, or, or even just do sort of a bit of jug dare, which is like an old English meal. But yeah, hare is just such a rich, nice, juicy meal. It's just sort of, I just don't understand why we don't eat more of it here. I really don't.
Yeah, there's some guys that I know back home that love to keep X amount of rabbits or whatever, make rabbit stew and stuff. I once again am not very great at cooking, game. I'm just not good at it. I guess maybe it's partially because I've never really had anybody show me the right way to do it either. But yeah, I mean, I've had rabbit and hare and stuff though. I mean, I enjoy it. I think it tastes good. I mean, I can understand why some people really like it, but I see what you're saying. I mean, for most of what I catch goes back to the birds. It's that much less food I have to buy. So, I mean, it's kind of whatever, but once again, to each their own. But yeah, no, I mean, I can totally see where the appeal would be in it if you know how to make it right and prep it.
Yeah, well, there's a real good quick recipe for you, and you can't go wrong with it. Nobody can go wrong with this. And it's just such a simple thing. It's a little bit of prep work on the meat. And all you do is you take the cannons out the middle of the back, like you would on a deer. Take those little strips out. And something like on a jackrabbit, which is a pretty big, they're the equivalent to a hare here. Mm-hmm. Take those strips out in the middle of the back. Salt and pepper them, put them to one side. Mix a little bit of batter up, or a bit of egg. Get some breadcrumbs. And then egg, breadcrumb. Get your frying pan nice and hot. Butter. Get your butter nice and hot so you get the froth on the top. Scoop the froth up so you're just left with that clear fat. Bang them straight in there. Probably a minute on each side. Pull them out. Bit more salt and pepper, bit more seasoning. There you go. You've got like a real nice crispy rabbit.
Nice. Yeah, if we didn't just have steak and stuff a bit ago, I'd probably be salivating at the moment. But no, yeah, I mean, I'm open to try pretty much whatever. Yeah. But I'm just, like I said, it's got to be. I know that stuff's got to be cooked right, or else, I don't know. You say that it's fail proof, but I could probably find a way to still screw it up. I'm telling you, I'm just not a very good cook and stuff. So, but yeah, no, I mean, that's cool though. I'm glad that you still enjoy all these different forms of hunting, even though, I mean, some people, once they get it in their head, they find their thing, they don't enjoy the other stuff as much anymore. So, I mean, it's cool that you still enjoy doing all the other stuff as well as the eagle stuff. But
yeah, I mean, you can't go out. You can't be going out with a couple of ferrets. You understand what I know. You sort of. I'm not saying you're naive, but you know what ferrets are, like polecat type.
Sure. Mm-hmm,
and we over here we go out with ferrets, don't we? And put them down the rabbit hole and that. Mm-hmm. And I tell you what, that is probably, if you get a real good frosty morning, and you go out with a couple of ferrets. And whether you do it with a bird of prey or a couple of whippets or a couple of lurchers where they bolt and the dogs chase them, it can be just as much fun. I just find the biggest part of hunting is just being outdoors and taking part in whatever's going on. So whether it be the foxhounds, the deer hounds, whether you're just out with an air rifle, a shotgun, whether you're out with the birds, a fishing rod, doesn't matter if you're coarse fishing or game fishing. as long as you're outdoors and you're off your mobile phone, that is the biggest prize that you can have, is not picking up that mobile phone, especially for kids these days. Get them off their mobile phone, get them outside, and you'll learn so much more by just being outside, doing a little bit of hunting. And people think hunters or people that hunt are barbaric. They're far from it. They're probably the biggest conservationists on the planet, because they don't want to kill everything. They just want to kill a little bit for the pot as a luxury. It's not like they go out and kill something every day. They'll kill something every now and then. You know, so there's plenty out there for people to hunt, and if it was that bad, the government would step in anyway. And I just find sort of the biggest thing for me is just once you've caught something, don't throw it in the edge. That to me is what are you going out for in the first place? Either take it home for the bird or take it home for yourself. It doesn't matter as long as it's used. Just don't get wasting it, because you know you've taken something's life at the end of the day, and don't be wasteful with it. You know you've had the privilege of being outside regardless with what you're with, but just take that as a part in your life. Just don't disregard it as it's just something that's happened. That to me is I'm quite strong about that, you know. And don't leave anything suffering either. That's the other thing, you know. If you've caught something, put it out of its misery as quick as you can. Don't stand there taking photographs, and you know, just don't hold things up in the air for the camera until it's put out of its misery, you know.
That's just ethical.
Have a bit of thought, yeah.
No, I agree. And I think most people do. I mean, they, like I said, it's just, you know, some of the basic, I don't know, you kind of refer to it, and a lot of people do anyway, as far as common sense. And yeah, I mean, you don't want to just let stuff suffer unduly. I mean, it's kind of pointless. And yeah, I mean, there's a lot to be said for that. It's just part of the whole process for sure. But out of curiosity, I mean, it's something that I still would love to see in person someday. I've only seen in videos, is the whole roe deer with eagle hunts. You know, I still think that's pretty damn neat personally. But for someone that's never seen it, and for the people that's listening have never seen it in person, but in videos or whatever the case, I mean, walk through that whole process a little bit, because that whole thing fascinates me. I really want to see it in person at some point, but.
Well, to be fair, the hardest thing, people don't realise, the hardest thing for an eagle to take is actually a rabbit. Sorry, not a rabbit, a hare, sorry.
Yeah.
That is probably one of the hardest things an eagle can actually chase and catch, as a hare. Especially on ground where they've been run a lot with the long dogs, because they're just sharp. You know, they're that much fitter than a leveret. You know, it's all very well going out at the start of the season and catching a few leverets, but you get sort of till after Christmas when everything's sharp, everything knows what's going on, and then start trying to hunt brown hares.
Sure.
Then you know, if you can catch brown hares after Christmas, then you've got a decent eagle. You know, especially if you can do it on a regular basis. When it comes to foxes and roe, most of the time, foxes just stick to the edge lines a little bit, you know, so trying to get them away from it, unless they break cover and go straight across a field, they run pretty true, a fox will. They don't sort of dart around. They won't go left and right to try and dodge. They'll just run. Sometimes they'll just turn and face whatever's coming in at them. And sometimes, especially with my little male, he's been collared a couple of times, been bit a few times, and that I get him to the vets, but we've always sorted him out. You know, that they do wear up to sort of like when they face, and sometimes when they're coming in, they do pull up and pull off, you know. But with the roe are something else. Again, that they do sort of like pretty straight line, but and the eagle's sort of got to be pretty confident to go straight in and try and do a roe deer, and I've taken them in woodlands, we've taken them in open ground, but one of my most memorable flights with Woody was we were up on a bank, and we were actually out with one of the hunts over Warwickshire. We were on a great big bank, and we had this massive sort of view, and the wind was blowing right, and there was 2 or 3 roe that had broke out across the second field from us, which would have probably been a good probably 300 meters. And I thought, shall I or shan't I? So I let Woody go, and off he went. I thought, he's going the wrong way, but he didn't go the wrong way. He knew exactly what he was doing. He went out the wrong way, but then come back in on the wind to get more height. And then as he got more height, and then he sort of went up and up and up and turned, and then just folded, and he hit this roe straight on the back of the head and flattened it straight out. Weren't dead, but he'd flattened it. And I couldn't get the quad bike down there, so I started running. Got down there, got down to where I thought he was, totally gone, disappeared, and the deer. So I thought, where the bloody hell are they? Gets the telemetry out, starts sort of looking, and it's pointing towards the edge, which was another 150 metres back. By this time, I'm knackered. Gets the edge, and all I could hear was this crashing going up the edge. And then this is a great big thick blackthorn hedge, sort of probably a good 4 foot wide with a big ditch in the middle of it. And all I could see was my eagle being dragged up the edge. And I reckon I must have chased this roe deer about 50 metres up this edge. And I thought, there's no way that eagle is coming out of there alive. And in the end, I managed to get through the other side of the edge, managed to get one hand in onto the deer's leg and pull it out. And the eagle come out absolutely knackered, but he hadn't let it go. And I dispatched that eagle, let him have a good feed on it. And I just, to this day, I still don't know how he caught that deer. Well, I do know how he caught it, but how he stayed on it and survived was a totally, something £6.12, probably taking something that's £60. That is a massive fate of sort of just a big set of balls for a bird. You know what I mean?
Sure. Yeah. Well, I mean, there's always those instances that you have where the stars kind of seem to align and everything falls into place, and for whatever reason, things just happen to go right, and your bird ends up being all right, and you come home with, some pretty cool game in the bag and a good story to tell. So.
It's like a gold medal, isn't it? Some days when you come back home, it's just like, wow, but but you could tell somebody down the pub or whatever, or you talk to your mates and it's just like, oh well, I just caught another innie, But to you, it's like that was the prize, that was it,
Well, and if you're used to catching game on a regular basis, then whenever you talk to people about some things, it's okay. Well, yeah, he's just okay. To people, it's he just caught another rabbit, or he just caught another whatever. And unless you really get out regularly with other people and see just how diverse some of these chases are, and just hunts in general are, it's hard to appreciate that how much you just worked to make all this stuff come together. So I get it. I mean, I don't get it as far as watching a roe deer being caught, but I totally get it. I mean, you know how it is too. I mean, some days you feel like you deserve a gold medal just for coming home with your freaking bird. I mean, it's
just carrying a gold deer around for about 6-7 hours. You should get a gold medal for that, because
I bet
you've got sort of £7 sitting on the end of your hand for that sort of amount of time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, some people walk around with a stick under, and and even walking around with a stick under, they still deserve a medal. I never had a stick, but it's a fair old chunk of weight to carry. newborn child, isn't it? You know, carrying it around in one hand all day long, and you come home sort of wet. And there's always something that goes on. You know, you might fly it, and you don't always get the weights right, so they might just pull up at the last minute. You think, oh God, might as well go home now, because you know you might have travelled 3 hours to get somewhere, and you think, oh, I'll give it a couple of hours, put him back in the box, see if he drops a bit more weight. Eagles don't drop weight like that. Do you know what I mean? It's just like, so you try him again in the afternoon, and then the little bugger goes and sits in a tree for God knows how long, and then you get it back. You think, right, it's time to go home now.
Yeah. Sometimes we're always tempted to tempt fate, I guess you could say. And yeah, sometimes it doesn't. Well, a lot of times it doesn't always work out. But for whatever reason, there's a lot of those days where you just can't simply accept the fact that you are going home and not getting to hunt because you fed too much or whatever the case was. But it happens to the best of us.
Yeah, so. I mean, we've done it on a thing, and we've done sort of like getting on for 20 kilometres in a day with the eagle. That's a hellish bit of ground to cover walking with something sort of 7 pound on the end of your arm. I'd probably have a heart attack now trying to cover that amount of ground.
I bet. Yeah, I can't imagine. I mean, I've held a golden eagle before. And after about 5 minutes, I was ready to. My shoulder felt like it was just about ready to fall out of its socket. But I'm sure it's just like anything else. You get conditioned.
Yeah, you can condition to it, and I think sort of when you've got your bird, the one that you've sort of trained and you've grown up with, it's nice, especially if it's well behaved. When you've got a misbehaving eagle on your arm, one that keeps baiting or sort of like you're walking, it keeps trying to either bite you and it keeps fidgeting, or it's trying to bite your glove and pull your thumb off or your finger off or something like that. It just becomes sort of a nightmare then, trying to sort of fly a bird that's just not well mannered becomes an absolute, it just unbelievable in mindset more than anything else. Me personally, I can't put up with it, so it's just in the box back home and job done. And I've flown a few of other people's, and some have been really good, others have just been an absolute nightmare. But yeah, you just have to sort of take the good with the bad sometimes and try and sort of change. You do try and change things that you do to try and change the bird a little bit, but sometimes they're just that way mannered that they're not going to change. And you can't teach an old dog new tricks sometimes, especially with birds. It just doesn't happen like that.
Simply sometimes getting a bird to accept you after it's been with the same owner for a while, and sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. If you do get it to work out, oftentimes the juice isn't worth the squeeze, so to speak. But I've been there and done that as well. So, but as far as everything else goes, that's definitely. Do you have any other noteworthy stories that you can think of off the top of your head?
Oh yeah.
If you can't think of one more good story, and
I can tell you a time when me and Barney, my best mate, the lad that I said is about 25 stone and built like a brick shit, a bit of a Viking type lad.
Right.
He got himself a nice little male, and we were both out sort of doing a bit of training by a quad bike, and both young eagles at the time. Mine was a couple of years older than his, but still a young eagle. And we'd done the quad bike down the field, 300-400 meters. Eagle had chased it, brought it back, just giving it a little bit of food on the fist. And I don't know what he'd done, but his eagle nailed him in the hand, or he got both hands together. So he must have tried to give it, couldn't have had the gestures tight enough. Bang, he got him like that. And it was, Cal. I pretended I didn't hear him. And it was, Calvin, come here. I said, what's the matter? He said, come and get this eagle off my finger. And I was laughing at the time, like sniggering away. So I pulled it off his hand, sort of thing, and he released. He said, "You bloody heard me calling." I said, "I didn't." He said, "You did." And I was laughing. Anyway, I go to put mine in the box, and as I put him in the box, I think I took my glove off, put it on the floor, and he got something on the end of his talon or something like that. Anyway, same thing, wasn't it? He went bang. He got both of my hands knotted up, towed together. Barney! Oh, you want me to, yeah? So there was a bit of touche there, so he had to then come and get it off me. But yeah, that was that was just one of those. But you know, I'd say that my worst one with an eagle was a female I had, and I went and put her away. And eagles sometimes always come back, especially when they're hungry. They come back at you for a bit of food. She come back at me, and I knocked her onto the floor, and she bounced straight back up again, and she managed to latch one talon on the glove and the other one straight in the back of my leg. And what you normally do with an eagle is you grab them around the neck to get them to release, because then they try and grab the hand that's got them around the neck. Mm-hmm. I couldn't get to her neck because she got me sort of with this hand, back of the leg, and her head was facing away. So I couldn't reach over with my other hand to get hold of her. So I'm stuck in the mews with eagle, and I'm thinking, how am I going to get out of this? So in the end, I start sort of with this hand, or with my right hand, I start to try and prise the talons open. And I managed to do it a little bit, and then she goes straight through my thumb on my right hand. So now she's got both hands and the back of my leg. And it's just like, well, what do I do here? And the only thing I could do was rip my thumb out, which just left a nice scar. Then I managed to sort of free my hand up, and then I got her out the back of my leg. But when I pulled her out the back of my leg, she cut the nerve. And I don't know if you ever had a nerve cut anywhere in your body.
No.
Oh man, that's painful. That hurt. That was just like, I don't know. It was almost like somebody poured scalding water all over my leg on my one side. And it was just like, I went back down the house, and it was just like cold water, kept splashing cold water on it. And it went a little bit funny, the wound did. With any kind of bird of prey wound, you try and keep it open for as long as you can, get all the crap out of it. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that was a painful one with the eagle. That was that was probably the worst one I've had with an eagle. you know, I don't know what it is with eagles, but when they grab you, it hurts. But do you know what? I find a little sparrow work more painful now, and I think it's because sort of like they've got. I don't know if they go deeper or whether I've just sort of got kind of immune. I wouldn't say immune. It still hurts. But you tend to tolerate the pain level a lot more when the eagles grab you now. I wouldn't expect anybody to go and try it, but, you know, after 10 years of them grabbing you, you kind of get like...
I'm not sure I can hang with you on that. No, I mean, I've been footed by, you know, red tails, Harris hawks, and other accipiters, and I would still prefer the kind of sewing machine type quick multiple, you know, stabs is like an accipiter that does, as opposed to, you know, just the vice like, you know, grip that a red tail or any bigger bird, you know, has to offer. But I don't know. Teach their own. I mean, if that's your preference, then go forth and prosper, I guess. But well, I mean, that's good though. I mean, I appreciate you sharing the good stories and the good experiences. So I've been asking most people this. What, I mean, since you have been doing this for a while, do you have any particular words of wisdom or tidbits of advice or anything that you would pass on to newer generations of falconers, or even people who've been doing it for a while?
The only thing that I would really say would be, if you want to get into falconry, just don't rush into it, and work out really what you want to fly before you go and get your first bird. And whatever your first bird is, try and make it your last bird. Don't turn around and say a Harris Hawk's a starting bird. A Harris Hawk's not a starting bird. A Harris Hawk is a bird, and it'll be a bird that you could finish with. They could live for 20 years. You could have 20 years of good falcon with that bird before you had to get another one. So they're not a starter bird. So, just sort out where you want to be with what bird you want to fly, and fly that one properly. Train it properly to start with, and you won't have a bad season, or you won't have a bad hunting experience with it. Get the right experience. Just because your mate's got one, don't take his word for it. Go out with a lot of people. Go on a few meets. Meet people. Just and enjoy it as well. Just don't go rushing into things. That would be my biggest thing. Just don't rush into anything. Do your research. Don't get onto the forums on different social media places and start asking stupid questions. Do your own work. Do a little bit of research yourselves. It's not rocket science. Falconry isn't rocket science. You just need to have a rhythm. You need to have a daily routine with your bird, and that's it. That's all they ask for.
Yeah, no, that's good advice. And I think that we all kind of get caught up in the seductive aspect of things sometimes, and forget that the consistency and just the bare bone fundamental aspects of things. And sometimes too, you want to fly that species that is kind of like not really great for what you're wanting to do, but you don't have experience with it. It just seems appealing, and we all kind of get caught up, and sometimes we need to be reminded of just the fundamentals and the basics. So I think
leave your mobile phone at home.
Yeah, but I mean, who's gonna believe that your eagle brought down that roe deer in the 500 miles away or however it was and stuff, though, without the evidence.
Yeah, I have missed out loads with my mobile phone. I have. Sometimes I take it, sometimes I don't.
Well, like I said, it's been a great day so far. Anyway, I'm glad that you all made it down, and I could get to know some of you all, and it's been nice hanging, and hopefully the rest of the weekend's good for you and everyone else here that's got booths, and hope you do well. And I'm sure we'll talk a lot more over the course of the weekend and stuff, but I think it's about time to grab another beer and then head to bed here pretty soon.
Yeah, so. That's cool. Nice meeting you. Thanks for doing the interview, and I wish everybody else all the best. And for all my friends out in the States, I wish you all well, especially Mark and a few of the others. So, good luck to you all. Have a good season. Yeah, and real quick, if anyone wants to buy any equipment from you or check into your business, is there a particular place they can do that? Or? Yeah, www.ubfalconry.net. Just have a look. I haven't updated it for a while. Hopefully, sort of, once I get September out of the way and I've been out to Qatar, we should be sort of somewhere back on a level playing field. It's just that manic at the moment with work and that time of year. Totally get it. Well, like I said, I appreciate your time and thanks for the now hour that you've given me. So that we've wasted. I'm sure somebody's got something out of it somewhere. Yeah, no, that's cool. That's cool. I've enjoyed it. Thank you very much. Yeah, it's been fun. I appreciate it.